Howdy guys, how's it going? So we have already went over the assault rifle, so we're going to be scooting over to the submachine gun category and going through, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys what I consider to be the best and then my personal favorite submachine gun in Modern Warfare after completing Damascus. Just in case you're new, you know, I've had Damascus completed for a hot minute. I mean, I'd say a month and a half, 2 months maybe. And, you know, I've been rocking these guns in various, you know, setups and configurations, and just run every gun in just about every possible way, shape, and form between doing the original best class setup videos for whenever I was working on getting these things gold and platinum and Damascus, and then from to recent times doing updated class setup videos. So we'll just kind of do what we've done in the assault rifle video. We'll scroll through, touch on each one of them just a bit, and then, you know, I'll just basically kind of hit up the best and the favorite. So starting off, we got the AUG. Now in previous Call of Duty, especially Black Ops 1, dude, I love the AUG. I think it's just a dope looking weapon, like in general. And on here they have the, you know, they made it to where it's 9mm standard, and then, you know, you go to ammunition, you have the ability to throw on your 5.56 AR rounds and run this as an AR, which really is the best way to run this weapon in this game, and is the way it's normally showcased in other Call of Duties and other games. So in terms of the AUG, I kind of just let it stand alone as more of an AR platform in general. So it's definitely not making the list for favorite or best. But now scooting down to the P90, the P90, well, just like most all the subs on here, they're absolute laser beams, okay? So like even with no attachments on the P90, this thing shoots extremely fat, extremely flat and extremely fast. And it definitely, I think it looks extremely well with Damascus on it. I think just something about where it's kind of got that fat body style to it, where it's a bullpup design. I really like how it looks, but it's one that since I've got it Damascus, I just don't find myself using it too often. And the main reason is it's got a fast fire rate, but you burn through those 50 rounds that's in the mag super quick, and there's obviously, because of the way the weapon is designed, there's no way to increase your ammo capacity because the magazine is, you know, integrated into the shape of the weapon itself, and there's no way to extend your ammo capacity. So that's my biggest gripe with the P90, and that's why I don't really find myself using it, because in a lot of the smaller map game modes where subs really shine, you know, it's really a big advantage to just have as much ammo capacity as possible. Now going to the MP5, it's kind of just like with the ARs, with, you know, how we chose the old M4A1, and it's kind of an overrated weapon, but for a good reason. The biggest thing about the MP5 is the 10mm round mag attachment. Because this thing right here just the kill time is crazy for like the fire rate and stuff that you get out of the MP5, and like it's not nearly as accurate as like comparing it to like the MP7 or the P90 in terms of, you know, just accuracy and control whenever you equip the 10mm round mags, but it shuts people down so fast that it's got to be the most dominant sub attachment and like sub setup in this game at the moment. Who knows if they nerf it or they buff it, or what they'll do in upcoming times, but at least at the time of making this video, that is definitely one of, it's got to be, that just there makes the MP5 the best gun at the moment, because then you can then throw on, you know, an extended magazine for the regular 9mm rounds that are running this bad boy. So, I mean, I hate to say that it's the best just because it's such an overrated gun, and I mean, the MP7 would kind of be what I would consider to be the best in a way, but it just gets outperformed by the MP5 just by a hair. But don't get me wrong, like you can take somebody that's better with the MP7 and then somebody that's just an average player with the MP5 and the 10mm rounds, and you can mop a floor with them. But just as a general rule, like, I'm just gonna have to say that the MP5 at this time is definitely the best submachine gun to go with, just because that 10mm attachment, but it's definitely not my favorite. Going down to the Uzi, now I'm telling you, the Uzi though, it's something to be reckoned with. Just simply, especially once you take and throw on the 41 AE 32 round mag attachments. I've covered the Uzi in a handful of videos running that, and just different setups here, there, and some different blueprints for it. And I mean, I think the Uzi is probably the most underrated gun from what I've seen, because I rarely ever see anybody use it, and it shuts people down so fast. It's got like to have a slower fire rate, it's got like one of the best hip fire accuracy, just like standard when you throw on like the vertical foregrip and stuff. Makes it even better. Not to mention, if you want to go ahead and throw on the 5 milliwatt laser, the tac lasers, you gotta be ADS, but from hip fire, like the 5 milliwatt laser is amazing. So, I mean, the Uzi is definitely not something to scoff at, and I think it was, I mean, all the subs was a pleasure to actually work with in terms of getting the camos and stuff, especially when you compare them to things like to work on the rocket launchers and all that, which we ain't even going to talk about that until we get to it. But yeah, so the Uzi is, like I said, it's a very good gun, very solid, no complaints. But other than the fact that it's pretty underrated, but it's not one that it's nothing to write home about. It's one that I find myself using again now that I've got everything Damascus and stuff, and it's fun to equip and use in game. But now going to the PP19 BIZON, I've got to say that this right here has to be my personal favorite, just because you can take and you have the ability to throw on the old 84 round helical. We're gonna go with helical mags attachment, which gives you 84 rounds. Okay, so I mean, this thing doesn't have the fastest fire rate, but with like that last aggressive class setup video that I showed for this BIZON, which if you hadn't watched it, check it out. That is my favorite way to run this, and that's the sub that I find myself using the most. I don't know, the ADS time is great, the accuracy is great. I mean, you can easily contest with people out into the longer ends of medium range engagements, and I don't know, it's just fun to use. I don't know, like, if it's just the mechanics of it in game, but I mean, I have no trouble winning gunfights. I mean, the damage and stuff compared with the fire rate is relatively low compared to a lot of the other subs in this, but I mean, I still end up dropping 10.0 KD games a lot with this weapon, and sometimes even higher. And some of my best games on shipment have been with that, because you have the mobility aspect of a sub, especially once you chop the stock off, and then you have those 84 rounds, so you basically got a little handheld light machine gun in terms of ammo capacity, so you can't beat that. Then going down to the MP7, I'd say the MP7 would definitely be my second favorite out of these things, because simply just because of how accurate it is, and the fact that you can throw on a 60 round mag attachment, and the kill time is a lot better than the P90, so you can get a lot more kills out of one magazine. And with this thing, if you mount it on a wall, I mean, you can laser people across the map. So I mean, I know that this gun right here is a lot of other people's favorite, and would probably take their best and favorite top slot, not only in this game but in a lot of other games like Black Ops 2 and stuff. The MP7 was just an absolute beast. But I mean, it's a solid gun. I mean, there's a couple ways you can run it, but it really doesn't matter what you throw on this thing. It still runs basically the same. It's really just about setting it up to have a good quick ADS time and throwing on that extended mag, and then I mean, you're good to go. Like, you really don't even have to worry about throwing on longer barrels and stuff, unless you just really want to and really push that range aspect. And I mean, some of you guys, here's the thing, I should have touched on this a little bit at the beginning of the video. But this, like I said, most of this experience is for the regular multiplayer aspect of Modern Warfare, and not necessarily Warzone. Subs definitely have their place in Warzone. I normally, depending on what I'm running as my primary loadout, would try to pick up a sub or AR or something to run as my secondary weapon in Warzone. So you just gotta make sure that if you're keeping it up close and stuff, that's where you're picking your engagements if you're in Warzone with subs, and just making sure that you're getting in close range engagements, so that you can actually take advantage of what the sub's designed to do and melt people up close and personal. But even for that, I still would prefer to have the PP19 BIZON or the MP7. I know that you could throw on the MP5 to 10mm rounds and melt people a lot quicker if they're full armor, but out of one magazine, counting potential misses and stuff, you're only going to be able to get people, like maybe one person down, as opposed to having the PP19 BIZON where you can just rain bullets on them, get some suppressing fire. Once you take in poor accuracy, getting shot at by somebody else, you can switch over. Like, that's the PP19 and the MP7 is still my go-to for Warzone as well. I don't normally have a primary sub loadout for Warzone, but if I'm able to pick one up, these are the two that I will normally choose to have as a secondary in Warzone. And then finally, we got the Striker 45, which, like I said, I'm gonna call it a DLC weapon. You know, it was available on the Battle Pass. It was tier, who knows, whatever. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure this is one that is, if you got it, you didn't have to have the Battle Pass in order to unlock it. As long as you made it to the level, it was a free weapon for everybody, as long as you got to the appropriate level to unlock it. So a lot of people have it. It is very, very good. 45 cal submachine gun. It melts. It's got a nice slower rate of fire, so you know, accuracy is very good. You can throw on the extended mag attachment, which is very important. The 45 round mags instead of the, I think it's 24 or the 25 rounds you get standard. The 45 hollow point rounds, it makes it like the 2-round burst. You know, like, once again, it's got its place. It's good for, you know, maybe slower pace things like search and destroy or something, but definitely not something you're going to want to use, you know, in matches like hardpoint or objective-based game modes like that, just because you have to reload constantly. I mean, it shuts people down pretty quick. And, I mean, it can be fun to use, but nothing, you know, nothing major. This is just one of those guns that, like, it's really good and it's fun to use, but it still kind of gets outshined by a lot of the other subs that are already on here. So just if for whatever reason you don't have the Striker 45, you know, don't feel bad about it, because I mean, it's nothing amazing, but it's a pretty neat gun and it's pretty fun to use and it looks good. And there's some pretty, like, you know, I'm sure there'll be some pretty neat blueprint stuff that'll come out for it. This is the only one that's out right now, which looks pretty much the exact same as the standard weapon. But yeah, guys, I mean, that right there, that's about all I got to say about the subs. I mean, there's nothing crazy cool about them. You know, it's not like with the M4A1 where it's extreme. There's not one in here that, you know, you can rock and roll with in crazy variations. If anything, that might be the AUG, but like I said, I let the AUG stand alone almost as just an assault rifle. Like, it would have made more sense to me if they would have threw the AUG into the assault rifle category and just had the 9mm as an ammo attachment for it, because it's still just, I mean, it still just kind of plays like an AR, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, please hit me up in the comments and share your thoughts and opinions about the subs you like to use and see. And like I said, in the event you're watching this at a later date, it's very possible for things to have been patched or, you know, nerfed, updated, all this garbage, so there could be new subs. So, you know, I'll probably update this in the future, but that is that for now. But yeah, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, share with your friends, and until the next one, adios.